Anthony drives one. Deep left center field. Back goes Campana to the wall. It's out of here!
Alrighty, and we are live. How's it going, Mets and overall baseball fans? Thank you guys all so much for chiming in for the latest post-game show here on WardyNYM as we're oh so close to opening day. But before we get there, the Mets still have a couple more games this spring, with their final one being next Monday. But today, finally, what feels like it's been an anemic overall spring for these bats, but guys away in the WBC and just overall just not a lot of offense. Today, the bats broke out at the best time possible. It's always better late than never, and that was also backed by a Mad Max looking sharp as ever in midseason form, but you guys know that already. So we have a lot to get into in this 11-2 win for the Metropolitans in Tropicana Field, facing the Tampa Bay Rays. So I have a lot to break down, all the notes from innings 1 through 9. What were the biggest takeaways? What transpired in this ball game? How did the Mets do offensively? Who were exactly the guys providing said offense? So we have a lot to get into. But before I do, of course, I have to shout out each and every one of you guys watching the live show. Darren, great member on the channel. How are you doing, brother? Hope you are well. The best Mets fan you'll ever meet from the UK. Michael, James, Emilio, Raphael, all you guys, Swiss, appreciate every single way you guys chime in the live show. Really does mean a lot. For people on replay, make sure to let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. What was your biggest takeaway from today's 11-2 victory over the Tampa Bay Rays? So again, we know that spring training doesn't mean too much. It all depends on if guys are competing for spots, either in the position player front or especially in the bullpen front. That has really been the biggest two focus for the Mets here this spring. And we've seen a lot of things on the position player front and the Vientoses, the Beattys of the world that we will have more to get into. And I actually have a video that's either going to come out later today, if not, then absolutely at the latest tomorrow. Be on the lookout for that regarding some reports that have come out recently. I have a lot to deep dive on that front, actually, but also the bullpen front. There were some guys that pitched today after Max Scherzer that very well could find themselves in the bullpen potentially to start the year. So a lot to get into. And again, I appreciate everyone being in here. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe on. As always, if you guys enjoy consistent Mets content like this, the #1 post-game show here on YouTube, and we have a lot of fun, awesome updates regarding the channel as a whole that you guys will be seeing. It will be unveiled by time the first game happens between the Miami Marlins and the Mets opening day, which I think is around the 30th. So yeah, a lot to get into. Very, very excited. But again, appreciate all you guys being in here. And of course, I have to let you all know that today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your #1 source for all your sports betting needs. Make sure you head over to betonline.ag using promo code Bleav at BLEAV. That way, get yourself a 50% off welcome bonus. BetOnline, it's where the games begin, folks. It's officially let the show begin. Again, hope you guys are doing well. Stormy and Gigi are doing fantastic. For those that don't know, those are my two bunnies. They're both chilling out right now. Bunnies are like semi-nocturnal, so they're at that point in the day where they're really not overly exuberant. They're kind of napping, especially Gigi. But as we get later in the day, that's where they get a little bit more excited, to be out and about and do stuff like that. So with that being said, let's get in this ball game, because again, the Mets came out guns a-blazing on the offensive front, starting the first, and they never looked back from the start in this one. So it starts as we get in the first inning. Luis Guillorme with a walk. He had a very good day at the plate today against the Tampa Bay Rays. Gets a walk. Francisco Lindor drives him in with an RBI double. Alonso with a base knock. Vogie with an RBI sac fly. And Alonso had a stolen base. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pete Alonso had a stolen base. You might have thought it wasn't Vogie, considering the the ad we just saw yesterday, the day before, for MLB, unveiling the new rules, including the large bases, and you had that commercial with Vogelback trying to steal second base for the first time in his 7-year career. It wasn't Vogie today, but it was his buddy and Pete Alonso. So Alonso, who has 10 career stolen bases, 4 of which in those games he has hit a home run, and that included today as well. But before we get there, the Mets already have an early 2-0 lead, and you'll love to see it. As we get to the bottom of the first, Mad Max on the bump today, as we discussed already, had himself a clean first, gave up a double to Raley, not Brooks Raley, the former Tampa Bay Ray, but this time the other Raley and Luke Raley, the first baseman for the Tampa Bay Rays. But besides that, nothing else transpired. It's a 2-0 Mets lead after the first inning. We head to the second then. Mark Canha makes a beautiful catch defensively while Max is pitching, and it was almost a snow cone catch. It went a little bit farther than he expected to. We have it running in the highlights if you guys haven't seen it already. Really nice catch by Canha, who himself, both defensively and offensively, had a very nice day. You'll love to see that. So Canha with a nice catch. Then he saw Brandon Lowe, or who is it, Brandon Lowe? Yeah, it is Brandon Lowe. with a walk. Siri with a single, who of course was with the Astros organization last year, was traded. He will certainly be getting a lot of playing time this year for Tampa in center. Mejia with a hit by pitch, and Diaz with a 2-run bloop single to tie the ball game 2-2. But this was far and away the biggest jam that Max faced today, because he would really sharpen things up afterwards. Because as we head to the third, Gourmet, second at bat, second walk of the day. Starling Marte with an opposite field double over the right fielder's head. Again, yeah, defensively, the Rays didn't look too sharp in the outfield, especially in the corners, but that one over his head, that almost brings in a run, because then Pete Alonso, Big Meat Pete, Polar Bear Pete, Pistol Pete, whatever you want to call him, the hopefully home run champ this year, had himself a 3-run home run dead center. Beautiful stuff there from Pete Alonso to increase the Mets lead. Now, it was tied 2-2. That's a 5-2 ball game, and at this point now, the Mets will never look back. We head to the bottom of the third. Lowe would get himself a single. That would be it. However, other than that, Max had himself a nice clean inning. And the fourth, the former Tampa Bay Ray and Tommy Pham rips a base knock himself. Narvaez with a walk, who had a very good day too. Gourmet with an RBI single. So his first 2 at-bats had himself a walk, and now an RBI single. That increases the Mets lead 6-2. And then Francisco Lindor drives in another to make it a 7-2 game, a 5-run differential in the Metropolitans' favor. That is Lindor's second RBI of the day already. And then we get to the bottom of the fourth. Mad Max really gaining the groove now, a 1-2-3 inning, including a strikeout. From there, in the fifth, Daniel Vogelbach with a walk. That's all the Mets would do offensively. In the bottom of the fifth, Mad Max, you guessed it, another 1-2-3 inning, this time with 2 strikeouts. Max put up the K's, to say the least, today, because as we get to the sixth inning, Omar Narvaez wants to get in on the offensive parade. He rips a solo home run to right. If I'm not mistaken, that's his first or maybe second home run of spring. I know he hasn't had many bombs. No less, Narvaez with a nice solo home run. And what I asked on Twitter, and I'll ask you guys too, and the live chat, people watching and replay, let me know in the comments below. What is your expectation for Omar Narvaez this year? Are you comfortable with him just simply being better than James McCann? I know the floor is certainly low on that, right? But whatever your thoughts are on Omar Narvaez, what type of expectation do you have for him this year? Please make sure to let me know. I would greatly love to hear it. So Narvaez there with the solo home run. We get to the bottom of that inning in the sixth. Max strikes out the side. So in total, over the past 6 batters that he faced in the fifth and sixth inning, he struck out 5 out of the 6. And his final line today is 6 innings, a 4-hit ball, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 100 pitches, and 11 strikeouts. Max finishes his 2023 spring with the Mets with a 1.53 ERA and was officially announced today as the Metropolitan opening day starter in Miami against Sandy Alcantara, however you guys like to say. I always say Alcantara. I might be wrong on that front, but you guys know what I'm trying to put up here. So Max going to be the opening day star. JV is likely going to be the home opener star on April 6th against the same Miami Marlins, I believe. So overall, a very sharp outing for Max. Was a little rocky there earlier on. Again, not that means much. It really doesn't. But nice to see him really get that work in. 100 pitches, over 6, 11 strikeouts. Strikeout machine in this one for sure. Then we get to the seventh inning. Pete Alonso continuing with the offense with another base hit today. Ruff with an oppo single afterwards. Yes, you heard that correctly. Darren Ruff, who is still competing for a roster spot, in which I'm sorry, I kind of want Mark Vientos there. The only reason why I think you could justify Vientos not starting over Ruff in that platoon role for DH against lefties, or however they want to do it at DH especially, is if the Mets don't want Vientos to be a part-time player, thinks it's going to hurt his development or potential trade value. If that is the reason, then I understand it. But besides that, I mean, it's hard to justify Darren Ruff still being on the starting roster, and yet there's still a solid chance that can transpire. Again, just better not be a long leash. That's all I got to say. The guy needs to prove his worth, because he hasn't to this point, and it's been quite a bit now. Ruff with an opposite field single, though, with Chopper gaining the gap there. And then Mark Canha rips a 2-run double to increase the Mets lead 10-2 at this point. Danny Mendick says, you know what, I might not get a base hit, but I will drive in a run with an RBI ground out. Narvaez with another single, and then that will do her for the seventh. In the bottom of the seventh, now Dennis Santana comes in for relief. You might be wondering, who is Dennis Santana? And Michael, those statistics are actually wrong, because if you look through Baseball Savant and maybe even MLB's site, they don't have Dennis Santana actually logged in yet with the Mets, because he was a waiver claim over the past week to 10 days or so. We did a video separately on the channel, over 10,000 views, talking about Dennis. Make sure to check it out if you haven't already. But yeah, no. Dennis Santana, because he isn't they don't really have him logged in yet. They just added his stat line on the Scherzer. Scherzer's stat line is only 6 innings of 11 strikeouts on 100 pitches. Santana, they combined because Santana today had himself a clean 7th inning. He had a strikeout and 1 walk. Santana is competing for this Mets bullpen because he has no minor league options left. The Mets picked him up over the past week and a half from the Minnesota Twins organization, pitched for the Texas Rangers last year. Baseline ERA around 5, but expected ERA 3.89. Has some nasty stuff, touches comfortably mid to high 90s, can even touch triple digits when he's really feeling it, and has a nice changeup too. So there's a lot to like on the Dennis Santana front. Reminds me a bit of Miguel Castro personally. So guy to keep an eye on this spring, because while he's not going to have much of a sample size, he'll probably only pitch 1 or tops 2 more times out of the 3 games that the Mets have left this spring. But he's doing his best to try to crack this Mets bullpen. And now, because of the Diaz injury, there is now more room than ever to potentially crack this bullpen, along with if John Curtis possibly makes it, Tommy Hunter. There's a lot of guys that can beat Jeff Brigham. There's a lot of guys that have done well this spring, but naturally the Mets can't bring them all in because they already have a decent amount of spots that are locked in, including a guy as we get to the 8th inning. And Zach Muckenhirn has pitched now 5 scoreless innings in relief for the Mets this spring. Minor league reliever, southpaw. Buck Showalter spoke glowingly of him post-game today, but he said, we like what we're seeing from him, and we think he's going to be, an impact for us. It's just a matter of if it's going to be now or if it's going to be, later in the season, basically. So Muckenhirn, I still think, is on the outside looking in to crack this bullpen. I think there's a slim chance. Mainly what is going to benefit him most is the fact that he is a southpaw. The Mets only have 1 true southpaw in the pen right now, which is Brooks Raley. Aside from that, David Pearson is probably going to be the number 5 starter, so you can't even argue that. Joey Flacco, Joey Lucchesi starting the year at AAA. So for all those reasons, that's why I could see Muckenhirn given a shot at least, but I also won't be surprised in the slightest if he still starts the year in AAA. Muckenhirn with a clean 8th inning there for the Metropolitans. Gave up 1 hit. That was it on 19 pitches. We get to the 9th. Aruz, who's been coming in to pinch in the 9th, feels like almost every spring game for the Mets, minor leaguer, rips a base single. He's had a solid spring, actually. DJ Stewart would get a walk, who's had a solid spring as well. And then the Mets won't do anything there. In the bottom of the 9th, here comes Trey McLaughlin, a minor league reliever who will not be starting the year in the pen, obviously. 2 strikeouts, 1 hit, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, and that'll do her for this Metropolitan win by a final score of 11-2. Now, a couple more updates to share with you guys is Jeff McNeil was hitting the backfield today in a minor league game and ripped himself 2 base singles. So, yeah, McHits, he will certainly probably be in at least 1, if not 2, if not all, of the next 3 remaining spring games for the Mets. And Brandon Nimmo, who we saw rip a 2-run triple in a minor league game yesterday, will be in the lineup for the Mets tomorrow in their spring game. So as we expected from what Buck said earlier in the week, he's looking ahead of schedule, and we're hoping to have him back in games this weekend, and he will certainly be in the lineup tomorrow. So a lot of positives now on the Mets front, as again, we get so close to opening day. It's great to see the Mets actually have offense today, don't get me wrong. But with that being said, I said this yesterday too, I just want the season to start already. This will probably be this will probably be the second to last post-game show we do for spring training. Don't be surprised if we don't cover tomorrow or Sunday's game. Naturally, trying to make sure I have the weekends off, busy, want to actually live a life a little bit. So if we don't cover any games over the weekend, don't be shocked by that. Monday, we will probably cover a game, depending on the result too, because that's the final spring game of the year. And then I'll see you guys all, leading up on Thursday for the first game of the year, in which we'll do a post-game show and all throughout that weekend, I'm sure. We may even have a podcast coming out shortly before opening day, midweek, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday next week. We'll see on that front. A lot of fun stuff is coming on the channel, though, that I'm so excited to unveil for you guys, and just how things are going to look and what you can expect from WardyNYM and the podcast this year. So be on the lookout for all that. And once more, there will be a new video dropping either later today or at absolute latest sometime tomorrow. I very well will probably even drop a video tomorrow over, say, doing a post-game show, possibly. Maybe not. Maybe I'll do both. Again, just feeling out the situations and with how my schedule is going. I do want to get to some of your comments here, though, before we get closer to wrapping things up. Again, appreciate everyone chiming in. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe on if you guys enjoy the consistent Mets content. And I appreciate everyone that's been chiming in to these post-game shows throughout spring, because it becomes a drag, don't get me wrong, and how many people actually have the interest or care to be following along Mets spring training game. You kind of have to be a diehard for that. Even if you are diehard, I don't blame you for having a lack of interest. So everyone watching live on replay, know that I greatly appreciate every single one of you guys. Mark, Michael, how you guys doing? Scott, Lisa, how are you? Lane, You have David Pearson, David Robertson, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, and Kodai Senga. Yeah, that'll likely be the starting rotation this year. I would be surprised if it was something otherwise. Webb's Love says, I think in a best case scenario, Narvaez reestablishes himself as a quality catcher that the Mets could potentially trade the deadline if Alvarez is ready to be caught up to the majors. Yeah, I would honestly go a step further and say that best scenario would be that Narvaez plays well enough where maybe the Mets could roll with him. And actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't hate the idea of him and Nito being rolled out for the majority of the year because Alvarez doesn't need to be rushed. We just want Alvarez up when he's ready. The kid's only 21. I mean, Adley Rutschman is at least 3 years older than him, and Adley's already now viewed as potentially the best catcher in the bigs. But to see that year gap and Alvarez being as coveted as he is, I just want to make sure that he has a swing under him, his feet under him, the defensive game continuing to look good in which it did in spring. So Alvarez, I fully expect to be with the Mets this year. Could we see a possibility where Narvaez is traded? I would say that's slim to none, only because I don't see a world unless unless Alvarez is truly looking so good where he is like a lock to make a significant impact on the Mets as soon as he's called up and outplays Narvaez. I think that's a possibility. I don't see the Mets say trading Narvaez this year without giving Alvarez a solid amount of reps to know what they have to balance things with Nito, because they know they don't want Nito playing every single day for obvious reasons. You don't want to have him burnt or anything. So if they bring Alvarez up for, let's say, upwards of a month or a handful of weeks, and he clearly outperforms Narvaez, then that's where we could get in that discussion. Otherwise, it would kind of be silly in the Mets to trade Narvaez when he has that rapport. And if he's good enough to trade, then you would almost argue that it makes sense to keep him, knowing that you actually have a solid quality defensive and offensive duo there in him and Nito. Again, you're probably looking at around 250 average, right? That's how I view both of them. If you could get both of them, with upwards of 10 plus home runs this year, Narvaez may even have more than that. That's great. An OPS, if you get an OPS for both of them, over 7, I'm happy. I'm not expecting 800 OPS from either. So if that happens, that's a pleasant surprise, right? But yeah, interesting comment for sure, though. I haven't thought about Narvaez's value, but I would be surprised if the Mets dealt him, because keep in mind, another reason why they signed him, the big factor was to help pave the way for Alvarez. So that's something that could go throughout the entire course of the year, especially if the Mets reach a point where they bring up Alvarez, God forbid, if say Nito's injured or if Narvaez is injured. So just food for thought on that front. Mauricio is an absolute beast. Saw him in Dominican Republic, hit his monster. Yeah, he actually signed this hat. You guys probably can't see it, but he signed the inside of that hat. I met him in Port St. Lucie over a week ago. Yeah, awesome guy, and yeah, has been killing it. So I'm excited to see him in AAA this year for sure. That looked fantastic. I'm doing good, Ryan. How are you? Mark, I appreciate that. When is opening day? I Bleav it is March 30th, if I'm not mistaken. I will actually double check for you guys, and then we're going to get out of here probably in the next handful of minutes. So let me just check for everybody. Yeah, March 30th at 4:10. I love that it's a 4:10 game. That's awesome. That way I don't have to be up like stupid late every day. So, okay. So 4:10 is March 30th, game 1. Game 2, which should have Kodai Senga on the mound, is 6:40. Game 3, that's Saturday. Oh, it's a 4-game series. Nice. Game 3, that's Saturday, is a 4:10 game. And that Sunday is a 1:40 game. Actually, wow, this is nice. If you look at the whole stretch, the Mets' first couple weeks this year, it's a nice balance of day and night games, a good amount of day games. And then they have their West Coast trip from the 14th all the way until the 24th. But even in those games, there is, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out of the 10 West Coast games that the Mets have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of those games out of the 10 are actually reasonable times, ranging from 3 to 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern time. The others then range from 9:40 to 10:10 p.m. Eastern time start time. But yeah, I like that. That's actually good. Let's see. Tim Healy. What did Tim tweet? We'll check Tim real quick, and then we'll get out of here. I met Tim when I was at Port St. Lucie. Very nice guy. Okay, and it is unveiled. Yep, JV will be this the home opener. We all knew that though. Season opening rotation for the Mets. Oh, it's different than I thought. Okay. They're going to have Senga as the number 4. Interesting. Okay. So Mad Max goes game 1. Peterson or McGill game 2. My gut tells me Peterson. However, I'm fine with either really. Number 3 will be JV, 4 Senga, and 5 Cookie. Okay, so that Senga start will be that Saturday for opening weekend. That'll be fun to watch. Awesome. All righty. Well, with that being said, guys, again, I love you all to death. We're probably going to wrap things up now because, again, not going to go crazy long for these post-game shows, especially here in spring. This may be the second to last post-game show we do here in spring. This may be the last. We may still have 2 more. Going to just feel it out and see what my schedule's like for this weekend. So, again, I appreciate everyone that's been chiming in. Keep an eye out for everything on the content front. We have, again, a lot of exciting stuff that we'll be unveiling pretty much as soon as we get to opening night, if not the day or 2 prior. So be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for a video in the next 24 hours, whether that's today or tomorrow. Until then, I wish you all a fantastic weekend, a great rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this. And of course, this is Wardy signing out. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.